There's a collection of slot machines positioned throughout every gambling establishment at this very moment that almost nobody plays. And here's the twist: they're not malfunctioning. They're not unavailable. Based on insider accounts from previous casino workers, these gaming devices are deliberately positioned in particular locations with certain very intriguing configurations. And gambling establishments hope you never discover why. What you're going to discover will transform how you perceive slot machines. Let's begin with the initial one you'll never witness advertised. Machine number 1, Blazing Sevens Triple Jackpot. This represents a 3-reel mechanical gaming device that's been available since the early 2000s. Based on a previous floor manager from Caesar's Palace, this gaming device has an RTP ranging from 96 to 97% based on the particular setup. That's substantially greater than most contemporary slots, which operate between 88% and 94%. The gaming device appears outdated compared to the vibrant video displays surrounding it. It's simply 3 reels featuring traditional 7 symbols and a basic jackpot screen lacking animations, recognized film characters, and complex bonus features. And that's precisely why gambling establishments don't advertise it. Previous workers disclosed that Blazing Sevens produces approximately $180 daily in casino revenue. In contrast, a contemporary Buffalo video slot in a premium spot produces more than $600 daily. Identical floor area, but dramatically different income. Here's the particular indicator for locating these gaming devices. They're consistently positioned in corner spots, never in primary pathways. At MGM properties, previous personnel stated they're usually in the rear areas near older gaming tables. At tribal gambling establishments, they're frequently in the initial gaming zones that haven't been updated. You're seeking mechanical reels, not video displays. When you locate them, examine the glass closely. If it states triple jackpot specifically, you've discovered the higher RTP model. A previous slot maintenance worker from Atlantic City revealed something intriguing. These gaming devices demand more upkeep than video slots since they contain physical moving components. Gambling establishments maintain them operating since completely eliminating them would frustrate longtime dedicated patrons who deliberately search for them. But they've calculated the numbers. The upkeep expense plus the reduced profit margin means these gaming devices barely warrant their floor area. That's why you'll never witness a gambling establishment promotion featuring them. But here's something most individuals don't understand about Blazing Sevens. Since it's mechanical, you can genuinely hear when it's going to pay. Seasoned patrons pay attention for a particular sound the reels produce when they're stopping on valuable symbols. It's not certain, but it's the type of knowledge you'll never obtain from digital. Gaming devices, previous workers mentioned some patrons would position themselves near these gaming devices simply listening for sequences. Now, you might be questioning why gambling establishments maintain any high RTP gaming devices whatsoever if they're less profitable. We'll address that question, but initially you need to learn about a gaming device that gambling establishments conceal for an entirely different reason. Machine number 2, Ultimate X Video Poker Triple Play. Ultimate X isn't a conventional slot machine, yet it sits on gambling establishment floors, and previous workers regularly identify it as something gambling establishments intentionally keep under wraps. Particularly the triple play model where you engage with 3 hands at once. This gaming device has a distinctive multiplier mechanism that transfers between patrons, generating enormous advantage possibilities that gambling establishments desperately want to reduce. Here's the mechanics. Successful hands trigger multipliers for the following hand. If someone engages and accumulates multipliers, but then exits the gaming device, those multipliers stay available for the subsequent patron. One fortunate patron discovers the deserted Ultimate X gaming device with active multipliers. Discovering one with 12x still active is essentially discovering complementary money. Now, the inquiry may emerge, why would anyone abandon a slot machine if it contains a substantial multiplier? Before I address this inquiry, I genuinely appreciate it if you'd subscribe and share in the comments. Have you ever secured big with a modest wager amount? Regardless, the actual response for the inquiry is fairly straightforward. It typically boils down to one factor: misunderstanding. Numerous casual patrons don't even recognize their multipliers transfer to the subsequent hand. Some believe the mechanism resets automatically when they withdraw. Others become irritated following a losing sequence and depart without recognizing what they've accumulated. And sometimes individuals simply exhaust their credits or must catch a departure. Regardless, the benefit remains on the gaming device for whoever discovers it subsequently. The issue for gambling establishments is that this isn't prohibited or against any regulations. It's simply pure fortune, yet it destroys their profit margins on these gaming devices. Based on a previous slot analyst from the Cosmopolitan, when Ultimate X gaming devices are in high traffic zones, patrons examine them continuously. Some devoted gamblers even maintain daily circuits across multiple gambling establishments, inspecting every Ultimate X gaming device for abandoned multipliers. So, gambling establishments enacted a two-part approach. Initially, they ceased advertising Ultimate X completely. No promotions, no references in patron communications, nothing. Subsequently, they relocated these gaming devices to the most inconvenient spots possible, at numerous strip properties. Previous workers stated Ultimate X gaming devices are in areas near parking structure entrances, in vacant passages between gambling establishment sections, or near rear service zones. One previous floor manager mentioned they deliberately positioned their Ultimate X gaming devices near employee lounge entrances so personnel would naturally observe unusual patrons examining them. Here's a particular story that demonstrates how serious gambling establishments are about this. In 2017, a collection of gambler associates was prohibited from the Tropicana in Las Vegas. They weren't manipulating. They were merely too proficient at discovering and engaging abandoned Ultimate X multipliers. Based on a previous security manager who was present, the team would coordinate through text messages, traversing different areas of the gambling establishment and notifying each other when they discovered favorable gaming devices. The gambling establishment couldn't demonstrate anything prohibited, yet they invoked their authority to decline service. Following that, several other properties on the Strip discreetly enacted similar approaches. The visual characteristic for Triple Play Ultimate X is significant. You're seeking gaming devices that display 3 distinct poker hands arranged vertically on the display with the Ultimate X logo and multiplier screens above each hand. Not all video poker is Ultimate X, and not all of them are Triple Play. You require that particular combination. What makes this gaming device especially intriguing is that gambling establishments can't simply eliminate the multiplier mechanism, since that's the fundamental game feature. And they can't remove video poker completely due to customer demand and regulatory considerations in certain markets. So they're left with a gaming device that patrons adore, and their sole defense is concealing it and monitoring for suspicious activity. But here's what you need to understand about the subsequent gaming device, because this one involves gambling establishments using loyalty systems as tools. Machine number 3, Triple Red Hot 7's free games model. Triple Red Hot 7s with the free games mechanism is a particular variant that gambling establishments have methodically eliminated from prominent floor positions over the recent 5 years. Based on previous slot supervisors, this gaming device has a bonus design that's too advantageous when paired with patron reward systems. The game itself is uncomplicated. It resembles a basic 3-reel traditional, yet it conceals a free games bonus that triggers remarkably frequently. Previous workers clarified that the combination of reasonable base RTP around 94% to 95% plus regular free game bonuses generated a circumstance where patrons utilizing maximum comp benefits could accomplish effective returns exceeding 100%. This wasn't a defect in the gaming device. It was gambling establishments miscalculating how their loyalty systems would interact with the game's volatility structure. A previous gambling establishment host from Pennsylvania revealed internal records demonstrating this precise problem. They conducted an evaluation on Triple Red Hot 7s and found that patrons with platinum level status were producing positive anticipated value, since the free games bonuses paired with comp credits generated too much return. The casino's resolution wasn't to modify the loyalty system that would frustrate high-worth customers. Rather, they relocated all Triple Red Hot 7 gaming devices to spots where platinum patrons were improbable to find them. The positioning approach was strategic. At numerous gambling establishments, these gaming devices are now in smoking areas, despite most gambling floors being smoke-free. Previous workers clarified this decision was intentional. high-worth loyalty system participants who tend to be older and more affluent overwhelmingly favor non-smoking settings. By positioning triple red hot sevens in smoking areas, gambling establishments guarantee that the precise demographic who could leverage the mathematics never engages these gaming devices. Here's where the narrative becomes darker. A previous compliance administrator from a tribal property stated that they particularly monitor which gaming devices loyalty system participants engage. When they observed platinum and diamond level patrons concentrating on particular games, those games received flagged for floor enhancement. That's corporate terminology for relocating them to inferior spots. Triple Red Hot Sevens was one of the most regularly flagged games across multiple establishments. The indicator for this model is the title display. It must state Triple Red Hot Sevens with free games prominently shown. There are other Red Hot Sevens variations lacking the free games mechanism, and those utilize completely different mathematics. Previous slot maintenance workers stated that the free games model frequently has a tiny gold star label or marker near the title display, though this can differ by property and gaming device age. What's especially deceptive about this circumstance is that gambling establishments actively promote loyalty system enrollments. They advertise the advantages. They transmit emails regarding point multiplier occasions. They generate entire marketing initiatives around comp credits and complimentary play. Yet, behind the curtain, they're monitoring which gaming devices loyalty participants engage and relocating the ones that are too beneficial. It's like providing someone a voucher and then concealing all the items the voucher functions optimally on. Now, you're likely starting to perceive how extensive this rabbit hole extends. But the subsequent gaming device we need to examine involves genuine patron skill, and gambling establishments absolutely despise that. Machine number 4, Quick Hit Platinum Triple Blazing Sevens. Quick Hit Platinum is a video slot collection that's extremely well liked. Yet there's one particular model called Triple Blazing Sevens that gambling establishments actively conceal. Previous workers from Bally's manufacturing sector verified this gaming device has atypical characteristics that render it troublesome from a property profit standpoint. The challenge is the hit rate. Quick Hit Platinum's Triple Blazing 7 game triggers bonuses approximately 30% more regularly than standard Quick Hit gaming devices. It was engineered this way to attract patrons who prefer frequent smaller victories rather than uncommon large jackpots. Based on insider accounts, when this gaming device was initially introduced, gambling establishments positioned it in premium spots. But they rapidly identified a problem. Patrons remained on these gaming devices for extended periods, since the frequent bonuses made their bankrolls endure longer. This is unfavorable for gambling establishments since they generate money on quantity of wagers, not time invested sitting. The resolution was sophisticated and questionable. Gambling establishments retained the gaming devices but relocated them to terrible spots. At Caesar's Palace, previous personnel stated these are frequently near the rear exits or in corridors linking different property sections. At MGM properties, they're in the older tower areas away from the primary floor. The gaming devices exist and they're functional, yet casual visitors will almost never find them accidentally. A previous data specialist shared internal figures. When Triple Blazing Sevens was in a premium spot, it produced about $320 in daily revenue. When relocated to a rear spot, daily revenue decreased to about $160. But here's the essential insight. That identical premium spot could accommodate a different gaming device that produces $550 in daily revenue. So, gambling establishments generate more money by concealing the quick hit gaming device in an inferior spot and positioning something else in the favorable location. The method to identify this particular model is to examine the title display. It must state Platinum and Triple Blazing Sevens together. There are numerous quick hit variations. Most of them are acceptable for gambling establishments to advertise. This particular one is not. This model frequently has wagering denominations beginning at a penny, which renders it even more hazardous for property profits, since patrons can extend their money further. There's an intriguing secondary consequence here. Patrons who discover these gaming devices by chance frequently become devoted to them, since they perform superior than surrounding alternatives. Gambling establishments have learned to accept this. They'd prefer having a limited number of informed patrons enjoying these gaming devices in inferior spots than having them become widely recognized. It's a deliberate sacrifice. What's Genuinely remarkable is when you comprehend how gambling establishments utilize gaming device positioning like a game of chess. Every single gaming device is a piece on a board, and you're relocating exactly where they desire you to relocate. Unless you understand what we're going to examine next. Machine number 5, Double Diamond 3-Reel. Double Diamond is a traditional slot brand, yet there's one model called red, white, and blue that has become practically extinct on contemporary property floors. Previous workers disclosed that this specific gaming device has an RTP nearing 98% in certain configurations. That's virtually unprecedented for property slots. The gaming device is extremely simple. 3 reels, traditional symbols, straightforward payouts, no bonus features, no complex mechanisms, simply spin and either succeed or fail. Based on a previous slot maintenance worker who worked at the Mirage, these gaming devices were remarkably popular in the 1990s and early 2000s. But, as gambling establishments understood how the mathematics compared to contemporary games, they started eliminating them. However, they couldn't eliminate them completely since certain jurisdictions have regulations mandating minimum quantities of mechanical reel gaming devices. So these Double Diamond red, white, and blue gaming devices still exist, yet they're concealed in plain sight. At numerous properties, they're in the high-limit areas, yet configured to accept quarters or dollars, not exclusively high-denomination wagers. Previous high-limit hosts clarify this positioning approach. Positioning them in high-limit areas discourages regular patrons from discovering them since most individuals assume everything in those areas demands huge wagers. But the gaming devices technically satisfy the regulatory requirement for mechanical reel availability. Here's where it becomes intriguing. A previous compliance administrator from a Nevada property shared that during a regulatory inspection, inspectors particularly requested to examine the mechanical reel gaming devices. The property had to demonstrate they existed and were functional, yet nowhere in the regulations did it state the property had to publicize where they were or make them simple to discover. This loophole permitted gambling establishments to conform with the letter of the law while still safeguarding their profits. The visual characteristic for these gaming devices is the color pattern. You're seeking red, white, and blue coloration on the glass with the Double Diamond logo. Not simply any Double Diamond gaming device, it must be the red, white, and blue themed model. Particularly, previous workers stated these are sometimes designated as patriotic models in internal systems. Consider property floors like a magician stage. Everything you're intended to observe is intensely illuminated and in the center. Everything they don't desire you noticing is in the darkness at the periphery. These Double Diamond gaming devices are intentionally maintained in the darkness. The subsequent gaming device on this list is the one you witnessed on the thumbnail, and there's a peculiar reason gambling establishments never publicize it. Machine number 6, Sex in the City. This one astonished me when I initially learned about it. Sex in the City slots still exist on property floors, yet gambling establishments ceased advertising them years ago despite them being profitable gaming devices. Based on previous marketing supervisors from IGT, the reason is purely regarding brand image and demographics. When Sex in the City gaming devices first debuted, they were extensively advertised and extremely successful. They attracted a particular demographic of female patrons in their 30s to 50s who adored the show. But gambling establishments observed something intriguing in their data. These gaming devices generated clusters. Groups of women would visit properties particularly to engage Sex in the City slots together. They'd occupy multiple gaming devices in an area for extended periods, socializing and engaging at moderate wager levels. From a pure profit perspective, this isn't optimal. Gambling establishments desire turnover. They desire patrons cycling through gaming devices rapidly. One previous floor supervisor clarified it this way: the Sex in the City gaming devices generated decent money, yet they generated dead zones around them. Other patrons, especially male patrons, avoided the zones where groups of women were assembled around these branded gaming devices. So, gambling establishments made a determination. Retain the gaming devices since they're purchased and still profitable, yet cease advertising them and relocate them to isolated spots. At numerous places, Sex in the City slots are now in zones adjacent to women's restrooms or in areas near hotel elevators away from the primary gaming floors. Previous personnel disclose this positioning serves a dual purpose. It provides patrons who particularly desire these gaming devices a place to discover them, yet it prevents the clustering consequence from impacting premium floor area. A slot supervisor from ARIA revealed a particular example. They had 6 in the city gaming devices in a premium center floor spot. Those 6 gaming devices produced about $20,600 daily combined, but the 20 gaming devices in the surrounding zone witnessed their revenue decrease by approximately 15% due to the demographic clustering consequence. When they relocated the 6 in the city gaming devices to a side zone, those 20 surrounding gaming devices recovered their revenue. The 6 relocated gaming devices witnessed their revenue decrease to about $1,400 combined, yet the net consequence was favorable for the property. This reveals something significant about how gambling establishments think. Individual gaming device performance doesn't convey the complete story. They're evaluating the entire floor as an ecosystem. Sometimes a profitable gaming device gets concealed since it negatively impacts everything around it. But here's what you need to understand about the subsequent gaming device, because this one involves genuine patron skill. And gambling establishments absolutely despise that. Machine number 7, Zombie Apocalypse. Zombie Apocalypse is a skill-based slot gaming device where bonus features involve first-person shooter-style gameplay. Your genuine shooting precision affects your bonus payout. Based on previous game developers, this gaming device represents an unsuccessful experiment that gambling establishments want to discreetly forget. The concept behind skill-based slots was to attract younger patrons who matured with video games. Conventional slots are purely random, which younger demographics found uninteresting. So, manufacturers like Gameco developed gaming devices with genuine skill elements. Zombie Apocalypse was one of the initial major introductions. The base game is a standard slot, yet when you activate the bonus, you engage a first-person shooter game where you eliminate zombies. Superior precision equals larger payouts. Here's the problem gambling establishments identified. Skilled patrons practiced. They became proficient at shooting mechanics, and their return percentages climbed substantially higher than the engineered average. A previous slot analyst revealed internal data demonstrating that skilled patrons were achieving effective RTPs exceeding 100% on these gaming devices during bonus features. That's not sustainable for gambling establishments. But eliminating the gaming devices completely would be admitting the skill-based experiment unsuccessful. So gambling establishments did something clever. They pushed them aside, disregarded, and left to accumulate dust. But these gaming devices require more maintenance than standard slots since they contain more complex software and hardware. When gambling establishments deprioritize upkeep, the gaming devices malfunction more frequently, which repels patrons naturally. At properties that still have Zombie Apocalypse gaming devices, they're virtually always in the most distant areas of the floor. Previous workers from multiple establishments verified they're frequently near rear entrances, in connector corridors, or in areas of the property being renovated. The objective is to render them so inconvenient to access that only the most determined patrons will attempt. There's a broader story here regarding skill-based gambling. Gambling establishments learned rapidly that skilled patrons are precisely who they don't desire. Traditional gamblers who depend on luck are predictable and profitable. Skilled patrons who can enhance their odds are neither. Based on industry accounts, most major property chains have completely discontinued skill-based slot development. The existing gaming devices remain only since they're purchased, and occasionally someone engages them. Now, here's where things become really intriguing, because the subsequent gaming device involves gambling establishments literally monitoring and anticipating for particular moments. Machine number 8, Ocean Magic Grand. Ocean Magic Grand is a video slot with a distinctive mechanism. It has bubble, symbols that randomly manifest and can upgrade victories, yet there's a particular mechanical quirk that gambling establishments don't publicize. The bubble mechanism has states that transfer between patrons. Previous slot maintenance workers clarified that when someone engages Ocean Magic Grand, the bubble accumulation doesn't fully reset after they depart. The subsequent patron inherits a partially advanced state. This generates an advantage play possibility. Seasoned patrons frequently roam the property floor seeking Ocean Magic Grand gaming devices abandoned in an advantageous configuration by someone else. Based on a previous surveillance operator, gambling establishments are cognizant of this activity and have mixed feelings about it. On one hand, these patrons rarely succeed enough to substantially hurt profits. On the other hand, their presence and activity can be observed by regular patrons, potentially educating them about game mechanics. The resolution gambling establishments enacted was to avoid advertising Ocean Magic Grand and to position the gaming devices in spots where advantage patrons scouting the floor would be more apparent. At most properties, these gaming devices are in sight lines from surveillance cameras and near personnel stations. Previous floor managers stated they're trained to monitor for patrons who examine gaming devices without sitting down, which is the telltale indication of advantage scouting. Here's a particular example from a previous pit boss at the Venetian. They observed a patron examining Ocean Magic Grand gaming devices every morning around 10:00 a.m. after intoxicated tourists from the night before had abandoned games. This patron would examine the bubble states on multiple gaming devices, then sit at one gaming device and engage for exactly 20 minutes. After monitoring this activity for 2 weeks, they calculated he was producing about 102% to 103% return, meaning slightly profitable engagement. The property's reaction wasn't to prohibit him. They simply relocated the Ocean Magic Grand gaming devices to a different area of the property where morning scouting would be more apparent to personnel. The reason this matters is it demonstrates how gambling establishments think about these circumstances. They're not attempting to eliminate all advantage play. They're attempting to render it difficult enough and apparent enough that only a tiny percentage of patrons do it. By not publicizing Ocean Magic Grand and by positioning it strategically, they control the circumstance. But what we're going to examine next involves a gaming device that gambling establishments are mandated to have but desperately wish they could eliminate. Machine number 9, 9-6 jacks or better video poker. Video poker isn't technically a slot gaming device, yet it occupies slot floor area, and previous property workers consistently mentioned it as something gambling establishments conceal, particularly 9-6 jacks, or better video poker. That designation signifies a full house awards 9 credits and a flush awards 6 credits per credit wager. This model has an RTP of 99.54% with optimal strategy. That's greater than virtually any slot gaming device in any property. Based on previous gaming supervisors, gambling establishments maintain 9-6 jacks or better gaming devices since they're mandated to provide video poker in most regulated markets, yet they don't desire anyone genuinely engaging it. So, the gaming devices exist in terrible spots with terrible visibility. At Vegas Strip establishments, previous workers stated these are frequently in corridors near parking structures or in areas of the property designated for locals who understand to seek for them. The average gambler doesn't comprehend video poker pay tables. They observe video poker gaming devices and think they're all identical, yet the difference between 9-6 jacks or better and 8-5 jacks or better is substantial. That one pay table modification decreases the RTP by over 2%. Gambling establishments advertise the worst models and conceal the superior ones. A previous table game supervisor revealed something that perfectly demonstrates this. A gambler inquired a floor manager where the video poker gaming devices were. The manager walked him to a collection of video poker gaming devices near the high limit zone. Every single one was 8-5 jacks or better, meaning inferior pay tables. The gambler never inquired particularly for 9-6, so the manager technically responded the inquiry while directing him toward inferior gaming devices. The 9-6 gaming devices were 3 areas away near a rear exit. What makes video poker especially troublesome for gambling establishments is that skilled patrons can accomplish RTPs exceeding 100% when you factor in property comps and promotions. If you're engaging 9-6 jacks or better with optimal strategy and accumulating players' club points, you can sometimes produce a modest positive anticipated value. Based on accounts from previous property hosts, there are professional video poker patrons who grind out modest, consistent profits by searching for 9-6 gaming devices and maximizing comp systems. Gambling establishments can't eliminate these gaming devices without regulatory challenges, and they can't eliminate the comp systems without frustrating customers, so they render the 9-6 gaming devices as hard to discover as possible. It's a compromise that safeguards most of their profits while technically satisfying requirements. Consider gambling establishments like a restaurant that's legally mandated to provide water. yet genuinely desires you to order soda. They'll provide you water if you particularly request for it, yet they're not publicizing it, and the server will suggest every other beverage first. So, we've exposed 9 particular gaming devices that gambling establishments intentionally conceal from you. Every one of these gaming devices tells virtually the identical story. Gambling establishments control knowledge, manipulate positioning, and guide your choices to maximize their profits. The gaming devices they advertise extensively are virtually always inferior for patrons than the gaming devices they conceal. Comprehending this dynamic doesn't guarantee you'll succeed. The house consistently has an edge, yet it does mean you're making informed choices instead of being led precisely where they desire you to go. By exposing these concealed gaming devices, they're providing you a fighting chance to engage smarter. You're not supposed to understand any of this, yet now you do. Subscribe for more insider knowledge gambling establishments don't want you to know.